Down in my garage because I left my camera down there in the building downtown, and I prefer to have this camera at my house. I feel safer having it there. Usually I leave it in the garage just when I'm out mowing the weed and pick it up when I put the mower back. I forgot it, so I came back down here. Old movie theater. Back in the 90s when I was a kid, this was a little bit more lively at night. Of course, my friend Jim down there, who's like in his early 80s, told me when he was a kid that it's such a busy town you couldn't hardly walk up and down the streets. If you think about it, there's so many towns that's like that. In the 90s, Peggy Sue's was still open. People come out drunk and acting stupid. I remember the theater open on 90s. On the weekends they would show movies that were mostly just the weekends. So there'll be a lot of people here about this time at night coming out of the movie theater. Still in the movies about 10:30 in the movies to let out everybody coming out, depending on what movie they were playing, what time they started it. I think that's why I saw Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs in one of the James Bond movies. Because I remember as a kid watching Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs in this very theater for the first time. And I remember watching, forget what James Bond movie I watched, but one of them that came out in the 90s. And I remember these two places were busy. Giuseppe's used to be pretty lively too. Although they'll eventually open back up. I don't know when, they're trying to figure it out. It's just so quiet here at night, but in the 90s you had the movie, early 90s when I was like a kid, and Grace called the Peggy Sue's, the movie theater, Smokehouse. Of course the movie theater by night, I don't know what year the movie theater shut down, sometime in the late 90s. Peggy Sue's, when I first moved out on my own in 2006, they were still open, they were still in business. So I don't know when they shut down. Giuseppe's, the whole coronavirus, that's the problem with Giuseppe's. Of course, Smokehouse is now Bellon's Pawn and Gun. I need to go down. I need to get in there and get the money going and get that gun I'm trying to buy. Told them I'll come and pick me out one. Hey, the craziness, I feel safe to have something at home. Especially I go hiking as a Bennett coal mining town, so to the crazy people. This building. There is something about this building. A friend of mine lives behind there is talking about he sees lights come on and off at night. I don't think there's electricity to it. Well, there was electricity to it until the guy decided to quit paying his bills. So, I think he pretty much forgot about the building. So maybe there was power, maybe he didn't pay a power bill and that applies to power, turn the power off. But there was, I do remember seeing those lights, some kind of thing on at night a few times myself. But I also remember seeing stuff looking at me through the window. It looked like somebody's walking around up there. Yes, that building is haunted. I don't know if people believe in ghosts, paranormal or not, but I do seriously believe this place is haunted. I hope to buy it though, I really do, because it'll be a fun project to restore that place. Oh, that would be so much fun. It'll be quite a extensive project. Then I know there's a guy named Theron who's also interested in it. But since it's nighttime, Jim was telling me a story not recently, but a couple of weeks back, before I forget it, he said that he talked about how he got a doctor's office on the second floor, and on the third floor you had a telephone office switchboard, and they had a blue light in the window. Back in the days before the 911 system, what they would do is they would turn, if you get a police call and they were trying to get hold of the police department, they'd actually turn the blue light on, which probably wasn't the best help back then, because I'm gonna say 1950s, just for example, 1950s there, because the police would come out at night time, you see the blue light on the upper window from the street, he'd have to stop, go upstairs all the way to the third floor to find out who called or what house called, run back from the third floor to the first floor to get in the car to go wherever it was. And the problem is, if it's like, it's domestic violence, I'm sure, but then the police got there, it's most likely to be settled if a husband and wife couple fighting, maybe. But I don't know for sure, because I wouldn't know on too much, but it depends on the couple. But if it's a home invader, somebody trying to break in your home, you would have to hope the police get there in time. It's one of the reasons it's good to own a gun, that in case somebody does break your home, because you dial 911 and wait on the police to get there, it might be too late. There's no telling what the person's trying to break in home will do. But anyway, so nowadays you have the 911 system, so you can call 911 in case of emergency. But prior to the 1980s, you'd have to call, if you had an emergency, you called the police department, the fire department. You'd have the fire department phone number, the police department phone number, and the Adams County phone number, so you call whoever you needed and wait. It's a lot easier nowadays, because if something happens, you can call the 911 telling you emergency, they'll dispatch or send whoever's needed. You don't have to call like the fire department or the police department, hope and pray somebody answers. But probably back in the early days when phones were first invented up until the 1980s, of course, things have changed since 1980s, because sometime in the early 80s they started out the 911 system, which is interesting, because you could dial 911. They did that because back then most people still had rotary dial telephones. You didn't have cell phones like you do nowadays, and 911 was the easier thing. Over in England it's 999. I don't know why they did 999 here. I think it'd be a lot simpler to hit 3 9s instead of 1 9s, you would think. But John Sumake's building, this is the Princess Theater. Back in the day they had the movies here. If you see an earlier video, I actually did do a video where I walked out inside the Princess Theater. I do have a video of that, which is kind of enjoyable. I walked around there. But something I'd like to point out, though, is I didn't know this until recently. The Bonifacios apparently owned the Princess Theater, ran the Princess Theater one time. I knew that. I knew they ran the theater over the hill, the original movie theater. I knew they owned that because Phyllis and Floyd and everybody would be there. Would be there. One of them would be walking. I think Phyllis would used to be walking the concession stand. Floyd would send Rocky upstairs to do the movie after Rocky was done taking the tickets. If everybody bought a ticket to come in the movie, sell them. I think he stood there, took tickets, and I forget who. I think it's like Juicy or one of them would sell basically the whole family. She would actually would be the one to sell the tickets. Rocky would be the one to take the tickets. And then Phyllis and Floyd would both be behind the counter of the concession stand. Of course, as soon as it's movie time, Rocky would run upstairs to the projection room and start the movie. Sadly, they've all passed away. I think Doug and Dean used to help a little bit because they were a lot younger then. It's just sad that most of these people, that pretty much everybody's passed away except with Doug and Dean. There's not a lot of Bonifacios living. Well, it's cousins and other people. I kind of miss them all. There's a lot of older people. When I was a kid in grade school, growing up in the 90s, a lot of older people has passed away since then. It's so peaceful at night. Besides Jim and that one guy just got off walking on his way home, I think there's nobody else around except for whoever's walking down the tracks. Oh, and that's the same guy just got off work, heading towards his house, and somebody else walking. Wasn't expecting to see more people. Oh well, I think I'll end the video now.